Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie Vaughn with CCM, and I'm here today with Mariah McManus of Mosaic MSC. How are you, Mariah?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Absolutely. How are you doing during this strange time that we're in?
Well, it has its good days and its bad days. I feel like it's kind of, I say it's day to day, but sometimes it's just hour by hour or minute by minute, and things are changing. And in Los Angeles, there's a lot of we're super on lockdown. There's a lot of unknowns, and so it's definitely been a really confusing time. But also, it's given me a lot of time and my family a lot of time to be creative and find new ways to engage with people. And anyone that does church every Sunday, I feel like it's just a constant, race to figure out what works and what doesn't, and how to engage your community as far as church, but also just your city. And so it feels busy, but I love it. So we're doing the best that we can in this crazy time. But yeah.
How are you feeling your time as an artist?
Well, we just put out an album on Friday, and so that's been a huge chunk of it. We mixed that record in quarantine.
Oh, wow.
So the first 3 weeks of quarantine were really just like 24 hours a day, mixing the record. And obviously we were remote, so we weren't together doing it, but we work with people in Nashville, so we're used to not being together necessarily and kind of doing it over the internet. But yeah, I've just been writing. I've really like my husband is also a musician, so we've sort of whipped out some of the gear and technology to be able to do it together, which we've never done. So it's been an interesting time together to write songs and be creative. And so it's been interesting because I'm not used to necessarily doing it by myself. I haven't done it by myself in so long because I have Mosaic and co-writers and all that stuff. But now it's fun. It's sort of like reignited a love for just music and being able to fill our home with music. And it's been, it's been special, but also, I'm ready to be done with it. So we're done with quarantine.
I can understand that. Now, speaking of your
Yeah.
album, Human came out last Friday. It's a live album. This is the third album from Mosaic. And I, listening to this album, it felt like a heart cry of prayers from the group. What was your inspiration behind this album?
Yeah. I think the inspiration was what the title is. It's human. It's as much more of a lot of times people write from like a theme or a specific verse or tone. For us, it was more of a language. So we decided, whatever we feel like God's telling us to write, let's make sure that it's written with the most human language as possible. And at Mosaic, we have a lot of people who are atheists or who have never heard the story of Jesus. And so, that's who we're singing to every Sunday. And so we have to be able to take out all of these cliches or all these things we're so used to saying when we're, immersed in church or immersed in the scriptures. We have to take out all those things and really lay a foundation for what it looks like to be a follower of Jesus, for what it looks like to be in relationship to Him, and what it even means, who He even is. And so it was really like, okay, how do we strip that back even more and just get to the core of who people are, regardless of their religious beliefs, and tell them, even if you don't believe in Jesus, this is what He believes about you. Even if you don't believe in Jesus, this is who we know Him to be. And so it felt very personal. Even though so many people worked on it, it became very specific and very personal to our church. And it's really just that idea of how do we make things as human as possible, as relatable, as understandable as possible.
What do you want the listener to take away after hearing the whole compilation?
Yeah, I think it is that intimacy, that personal cry to Jesus. I think it hopefully there is an understanding after that eighth song that's like, okay, I have an understanding of who this person is and why these people sing these songs, and why we had so many people on stage, and why all of this effort for this one person. Um, and really, like, the song Fountain is that is that foundation for us of building everything else on it, of saying, yes, probably everything that you've been told, even if you are a Christian, even if you have believed in God for so long, everything that you've been told is probably that you aren't good. But God created you good, and he builds on that foundation. Instead of just calling you bad and calling you shameful, he calls you worthy and loved. And so we've seen a lot of that regardless of where people are in their journey, that it's actually it sort of wrecks them and pulls all of these like ideas that they've had, of themselves for so long, whether they've been told that or they've just told themselves that, that they can actually be good, that someone sees them as good, and that we could sing that over them, I think is sort of the what we hope for people to take away from the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of people have listened to Fountains, over 1 million streams so far, and it hasn't been out that long, right?
No, just a couple weeks. So
That in and of itself is amazing. So obviously you're connecting there, very much so. As a songwriter, what is the favorite lyric or song you've ever written?
oh my gosh, that's such a great question. I think it's hard to say ever because I feel like it's always changing and always evolving. But for this album, there's, I think, 2 lyrics specifically. One is in a song called Steady, and it says, "To the end, you can count on me." And I think for me, that line is so personal. And I don't know if you've ever had just a worship song where once you hear one line, you're like crying. You have no control over it. You're just, there are tears coming from your eyes, and you're just sort of, undone. But that line for me, I feel like always in my relationship with God, I've wanted to be the person that he can always rely on and that answers quickly, and that is obedient. I feel like that for me has been sort of the thread of my life, is how quickly I'll move when he speaks. And so I think for me that's always something that I want to be so desperately. I'm not always that. I'm human, and I don't always want to do the thing, but it's something that I hope to be, is someone that, and God's like, I want you to do this, that he can 100 times over can count on the fact that I'll move. And the other one is the song called Close to You, and there's a line in the chorus that says, "You hold me together." And I just love that because it's so like real, and it's not poetic in any way. It's just like, this is who you are. And sometimes it's the only thing that keeps me hanging on.
Mhm.
And I just think that it's just so honest, and it really just came from like an honest conversation. And so those for me are just the things those are the conversations I have with God that feel very, just relatable to me. And so those are sort of the things I think I'm most proud of.
Well, on the flip side of that question, I always like to ask, what song do you wish you had have written?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. There's so many. I don't know. I'm sure that there's songs that people have heard that we wish we hadn't written, but a lot of the songs that we don't love haven't seen the light of day, and I'm grateful for that. So, that's the best part about writing songs and having a church to test them on, is that they tell you pretty quickly. They don't tell you verbally, but they tell you by like the energy and like the lack of engagement that it's not working. So I think a lot of the songs that were really bad sort of died in our church.
As we wrap up this interview, I would love to know if you have a message of hope for our viewers.
Totally. I think right now there's so many things going on, and I know especially for us in LA, there's a lot of news, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety, and there's a song on our album. It's the first one. It's called Everlasting Light, and the chorus just says, "Even the darkest days are temporary." And I feel like that's just a message to keep telling ourselves, is that, all these days, they're temporary, because there's better days, and Jesus promises us better days, and there's a better future, and there's more hope coming around the corner. And I feel like that's something that, as followers of Jesus, should be something we cling to, is that it doesn't mean that we don't have dark days.
Right.
God doesn't promise us that there won't be difficult things in our lives. If anything, I feel like as followers of Jesus, more things come to us because we have the strength to fight them, and reminder that we have to remember that things are temporary and that there's good to hold on to. And so that for me is what I feel like I've just been able to what's been able to bring me hope, and what I've been able to tell people is there's better coming. And also, even within the circumstances, there can be better within it. We can choose to bring the hope, and we can choose to bring generosity. And it's taken me a while to get to that place, because I think we're also sort of like confused and off of our normal routine. So learning to be generous to those people around me out of my routine, learning to, be the person that I put off being because I was busy or I had things to do, has really centered me to be like, okay, for somebody else that their dark day is much darker than mine. And so how do I bring that light to them? How do I bring them hope and show them that this is just temporary? So yeah, that's what's been helping me.
Good. Well, everyone, please go download or stream Human. It's out now on all digital services. Mariah, thank you so much for stopping by and talking to us at CCM today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.